Recording started.
All right, everyone, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about risky behaviors. Hopefully, while you guys were logging on, that you were already going into the entrance ticket to answer a couple questions in the Google form. And as we go through this, I want you to think about your learning target for today is that you're going to be able to explain what a risk is. And we're going to be using our portrait of grad traits by collaborating a little bit. And we're going to have some self goals in terms of trying to avoid risks that we're able to. All right, so every day, obviously, we make decisions and we are constantly trying to avoid risk, or we're risk taking in a healthy way. And in the entrance ticket, it talked about what a healthy risk is. Can anyone answer what they think a healthy risk might be?
Maybe a healthy risk, maybe if you're driving, waiting at the light to make sure that when it turns green, you don't drive out right away. You just wait a couple seconds to make sure no one doesn't run through the red light.
Right, that's an excellent one, Gwen, especially in this area with all the traffic and the impatient people. But yeah, I mean, when it turns green, that you're just not taking off, that you might be taking a healthy risk of not running out right away. Anyone think of anything else? It could be something that even relates to trying out for a sport, trying a class that's a little harder. That, an AP class maybe, giving that a shot. So that would be an example of some healthy risk. There are some risks that, as you can see, that can deal with physical, could be illness, but it can also lead to things like emotional and social and financial. So looking at risky behavior, we want to try to control the things that we can control. So what I'm going to have you guys do is you're going to go into your breakout rooms, and this is where you're going to be collaborating. And you're going to write what you think a risk is, how you think it relates to your overall health and wellness, which we've been looking at that throughout the year. And you're going to talk about whether they're equal. And, of course, make sure your name is on it. So I'm going to get you into your breakout rooms. And then we will come back to the main room in just a little bit. So let me go ahead and put you in your rooms. And once you are finished, go ahead and raise a hand. Once you are finished, I need you to go ahead and raise a hand so that I can see and return us all to the main room. Okay. Is everybody there? Is everyone back in the main room? Okay, Sarah. All right, Sarah, I see you have finished. Let's go ahead and start bringing everybody back to the main room. All right, can everyone still hear me? All right. So, looking at what some of you guys have talked about. All right, that's absolutely true, Sarah. Trying out for teams is definitely a risk. It's a healthy risk because there's always that opportunity you may not make it, but you're still giving that a shot. And you're exactly right with your not all risks are equal, because some have more chances of negative effects. Some are positive, and sometimes some of them aren't even within our control. So very good point. And Gwinnett, yes, gambling is definitely a risk. Skateboarding is fun exercise, but that can also be a risk because you could get hurt, and sometimes if you do get injured, these are things that are not in our control. And I'm glad that we all see and agree that risks are not equal. Sometimes the larger risks that we take can have a larger impact, good or bad. So what we're going to do, moving on, is look at some things, and this goes towards our learning target, which the possibility of loss or injury is what a risk is. It's someone or something that creates a suggested hazard in terms of an unhealthy risk. And how do we evaluate our risk? We can do that low, medium, or high, so that's kind of a little gauge there. Now, we're young, so a lot of times we do have adults that can kind of help us and guide us. But it is good to start self-evaluating, start considering what some of these risks could be, if there's short-term or long-term consequences, what you can and can't control. For example, like we said with skateboarding or playing a sport, you know, an injury can happen, and sometimes they are not able to control. Texting and driving, that would be a risk that you can control. So we need to analyze the benefits and risk of the risk of decisions that we make. So that's where we're going to be talking about decisions now. For example, driving to work. What are some decisions to be made in terms of your routes, the risk involved? And you're going to go off on your own, and your parents are allowing you to take a trip. So what you're going to, sorry, I went through that a little fast. So for your group time, you're going to, on Google Classroom, you're going to decide that you are taking a trip to California, and you have to make some decisions. So this is kind of a life skill that you're going to need for the future. So you're going to work in your breakout rooms with your groups, and on Google Classroom there's going to be a form that's going to break these things down. You're going to talk about how you're going to get there, and the risk involved in that would be money, safety, what parts of California, if you're traveling with people, where you're going to stay, what you're going to do, and how long you will be gone, and most importantly, what your budget is going to be. And then once you get there, how are you going to travel? So within your groups, you're going to be making these decisions. You're going to have a form that looks like this in Google Classroom, where you can decide with your group what decisions you're going to make, and you're going to look at maybe what risk you could come face to face with on this trip. Okay, so if anyone has any questions about what you are going to be doing right now, just raise your hand, or just break in and ask. But otherwise, I will just need you to start working on this. All right, and once this is completed, it will be in Google Classroom, and your assignment will be completed. So again, going back to what we talked about in the beginning, your learning target, you were going to know what a risk is, and you're going to right now work with decision making and looking at risk. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, you will be working on your projects. Thank you, guys.